Hey guys, Brian with Buffalo Beer Reviews. Back with another little sort of homebrew sort of situation that I've come up, that's come up upon me, and I figured I would kind of shoot my own kind of journey through the home brewing hurdles that you encounter. Not really so much of a hurdle or a problem, but there's things that you're going to kind of encounter as you progress in the home brewing sort of arenas here. My initial setup with my CO2 tank, right, that got kind of taken over by my kegerator, right? So I've got the kegerator, I've got all the taps, I've got my CO2 tank back there with my CO2 regulator, you know what I mean? And that's going up into my manifold. All of that is well and good. I took the third keg out for what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to talk about like a portable CO2 charging system. They call it like the party CO2 keg charger, whatnot. I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you about it. This all kind of stemmed because I was brewing a beer, a home brew for our 4th of July get together at our cottage in Honeoye, and I didn't know if I should buy a new CO2 regulator and then transport my 8-pound CO2 tank to the cottage with me. Talking with the people at Niagara Traditions, that could be a costly sort of endeavor. They said, the one girl said that her CO2 regulator had broken, in transport. So what they've recommended was this sort of system. It's a portable CO2 charge with the 16-gram CO2 load. Fortunately for me, the first set of ball locks had this threaded system. So this threaded system goes right into the adapter on the CO2. This is the 6-pack of CO2 charges that I got from the store. And then I got this cool little faucet style handle with the ball lock attachment already on it. So you can put your CO2 together in the handle. I already have the safety on. You can lock it all in place, activate the CO2 canister, hook this up to your ball lock regulator, your gas in, hook that onto the keg, and then you can take it off the safety, and with this little, it's the safety's on, with this little trigger, you can deliver some CO2 into your keg to kind of charge up the PSI so that you can draw from the faucet. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if I could just flip this around real quick. Kind of set it up like this. Lots of mosquitoes around. Got them. Anyway, so let's take a look at this, okay? Handle, CO2 charge. This is the top. I believe you're going to hear a little bit of a psst. If not, I'll redo it. There you go. I can hear the seal. Good. And I don't hear any CO2 coming out, which is great. So I'm going to take this over. I'm going to put the I'm going to kind of screw it in. Actually, I'm going to screw it in right now. Hopefully I don't hear any CO2 leaking out because of the safety being on, right? Cool. And I don't hear any CO2 coming out. So this is the whole CO2 charging apparatus, right? Instead of having to use a pair of pliers to undo my CO2 tank from the regulator, get a whole new regulator, transport the tank and the regulator and the hosing, and then set it all up. So this takes the place of all of that. So I'm going to hook both of these up to my keg, and I'm going to pick back up, and we're going to see about pulling a beer off of it. Let's see how that goes, huh? Okay, so this is sort of how it looks like, what it looks like after you're done setting it up. You've got the CO2 It's activated, it's charged, going into the CO2 in. Fortunately for me, my first set of ball lock guys had the threads on it. You will need the threaded one. It's hooked up, and then the tap handle's in the out. So I did give it a little bit of a charge, right? A little bit of a charge. And I'm going to see about pulling, rest my GoPro under my shoulder here. I mean, there you go. It's not the most perfect head system, but without a CO2 regulator to kind of tell you exactly what your PSIs are, I don't really... Let me see, am I sideways? I was gonna say, I don't really think that this is a terrible option when it comes to dispensing sort of beer out of a keg at a party, right? It's an economical sort of solution to maybe not having to buy another CO2 canister, not having to buy another CO2 regulator, not having to transport either one of those, not having whatever to deal with. You just have these two little pieces of hardware. You have your tap handle, you have your CO2 handle, and a CO2 charge, and it makes for a very light traveling solution to your homebrew kegging and dispensing sort of needs. Very cool. Not bad at all. So I just kind of really took the keg out of the refrigerator just to kind of set it up and to see how it worked. I'm actually really pleased with how easy it was to do. So I'm not quite sure if I'm going to lose all of the CO2 charge out of it. I might just leave the keg out so I don't waste the whole thing. I'm gonna pull maybe another beer or two out of it so I don't waste the whole CO2 cartridge, even though I do have 6 of them. It'll be fine, but you know me, frugal. So that's really about it for me, guys. I hoped this little look into the CO2 portable charging system was helpful. So leave me a thumbs up or a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.